This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. Don't ask. Don't even ask where that came from. But I thought that was some damn cool mid-1960s Japanese, who the hell knows what pop. Nippon Girls, the title of the album. Easily found on YouTube. Now, I have no interest in talking about Japan today. I'm a huge fan of Tokyo. But the topic today is near and dear to seemingly the entire world. Brexit. The British exit from the European Union. I'm going to take a different tact on this, though. A different take. I want to go back in time. 1989. The Berlin Wall comes down. 1989. Not that long ago. Seriously, that's really not that long ago. 1989, the wall comes down. Within 5 years, the internet is on its way to becoming the fiber of all communication. 1994, AOL is sending out these damn dial-up CDs that you plop in your computer and you have access to that crazy AOL interface. Summer of 1995, and I've said this many times, summer of 1995, Mark Andreessen, Netscape. I'm not blaming Mark, but I am going to start today, 2016, I'm going to start it at Netscape because we're paying for what Netscape unleashed. Oh, I love all the benefits of Netscape. Don't get me wrong. Everything that Netscape put forward is something we use today. Communication through a browser, communication around the world. It all started with that IPO in the summer of 1995. But that IPO unleashed an absolute insane bubble. We all know it from pets.com to every insane IPO that went out until spring of 2000. It was the biggest damn bubble ever. And when it popped and reached a bottom in 2002, that was it. That was when the central planners decided we need to fix this. And they dropped rates down to 1% in 2003. Boom. Bubbles all around the world take off again until they start to unravel summer 2007. And the final culmination, the blowout, October of 08. The bottoming out in March of 09. And just like in 2003 when the central planners decided the best way to fix the dot-com bubble was to bring rates down to 1% and create another bubble, well, March of 2009 unleashed upon us all the motherlode of all bubbles. And we're living it today. So I see the headlines in front of me from the New York Times. Britain rattles post-war order and its place as a pillar of stability. Talking about all the uncertainty Britain has unleashed. But look, many people have known for a long time that this union, not unlike other unions, would not last. I love this passage. Many Asian leaders have tended to view the European experiment at unity as a proposition that could not last. Lee Kuan Yew, the former Prime Minister of Singapore, once called the European Union a motley crowd trying to march to a single drummer. He predicted it would fail. But what's the real issue? The real issue is that since March of 2009, interest income has been taken away from everyone. And everyone has been told, trust the system. We've put stocks at all-time highs, and you should be happy because if you think back to the fall of 2008, when we threatened you with turning off the ATM machines, you should be thanking us for fixing it all in the last 7 years. And now we have your stocks at all-time highs. Your retirement accounts look great. You have the nerve to challenge us, to tell us, the bureaucracy, that you want to go in a different direction. I really look at it as the interest income issue. If you take an entire generation of people all around the world that were told, save your money, here's the structure. Look, when they were all 30, 40, 50 years old, they were told, here's the structure, save this much money, and you will live off your interest and not necessarily have to spend down all of your principal. That entire storyline, that entire narrative has turned out to be 100% false. To me, that's what the British people said. They said, we don't trust you anymore. It's really been amazing to watch the media, beside themselves, incredulous that the British people would make this choice, incredulous that the American people would pick as their nominee Donald Trump. Look, the people don't always get everything right, but the people know correctly that something's wrong. So the media can sit back, and I saw this one lady on the day of Brexit on CNN, and she was not an analyst, she was a news reporter. And in the midst of it, she looked at the other news reporter and said, how can we stop this? How can we stop the other countries from doing this? The arrogance. Whose side is she on? What side does she think there is? The British people simply said, we want out. That's it. I happen to agree with them, but you're going to see as I progress, my opinion's not necessarily relevant. What I want to do today is to paint a picture for how this could unfold and what you can do to protect your downside and prosper. Let me go back in time a little bit. I want to run through some key dates. 1973 to 1974. And if you don't know these dates, if you're not familiar, go read the Wikipedia entries. Do some homework. 1973 to 1974, bear market stocks. Stocks go down 50%. Trend following kills it, makes a fortune. Black Monday, 1987. US stocks go down, 20% plus in a day? Trend following kills it. Barings Bank collapses, spring of 1995. Who kills it? Trend following. August 1998, long-term capital management craters. And that really was the start of bailout nation. When long-term capital management cratered, the government never should have had their ass in there trying to bail out a private hedge fund. They should have let it collapse then. They didn't. Trend following, my point, made a fortune. Trend following, if you go back and look at the large trend following funds in that fall of 1998 period, a zero-sum transfer from long-term capital management. It's almost one-to-one. It is so damn educational when you start to understand not everybody's going to be a winner. There's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. The people with bad strategy, the people that don't know what the hell they're doing, the people that trust Janet Yellen to get in bed with them at night and tickle them a little and make them feel good. Perhaps give them a warm embrace. Perhaps a gentle kiss on the ear from Miss Janet Yellen. Those people are always going to get smacked upside the head. They're not going to see it coming. They don't have a clue. They were scared the first time. They're going to be scared the second time. They're going to be scared the third time. They'll end up broke. Moving on from long-term capital management, August of 1998, as I talk about big events, spring of 2000. Dot-com bubble burst. Trend following absolutely kills it over the next couple years. 2002, one of the best trend following performance years ever. At the bottom of the dot-com bubble, you might say to yourself, who's making money when these big events happen? Who's making money when stocks implode? When the world's going to hell in a handbasket? Ladies and gentlemen, the data's out there. Following up on 2002, another bubble gets built. And 2008 is an absolutely outstanding trend following performance. October of 2008, fantastic trend following performance. Right at that moment in time where the vast majority of people think the world is ending, one particular trading strategy is kicking royal ass. So when you look at all these events, to looking back to 1973-74, to looking at Netscape going public, to looking at long-term capital management going under, to looking at the dot-com bubble implosion, to looking at October of 2008, to looking what the Feds did in March of 2009, to looking at the oil collapse in 2014 to 2016. Is Brexit special? No. It's just the next step. The next step in chaos. Because chaos is the natural order. It's the delusion to think that chaos is not the natural order. Certainty in markets, that's the delusion. That's the media cacophony. That's the sadistic, nonsensical, utter, disgusting display of contempt and power upon average people. So going back in time, looking back past the last 25 years, how were those British people, ages 60, 70, 80, 90, how were those British people supposed to be afraid? Everything that's been unleashed upon regular investors in the last 25, 30, 40 years, how can they be shocked? How can they be scared? They know something is wrong. I don't think the average person is even saying they know what the fix is. They just know the people in power, the people in control are using them. That's what the people know. Maybe their choices aren't perfect, but that's not even the point here. So I love the idea for a push for freedom. I love the idea that a particular population could say enough and kick the bureaucracy in the ass. Do I think this is the end? Of course not. Tom Basso has said it on my podcast. He's mentioned many times that the common currency will not last. I'm not trying to say that Tom's prediction is something we should all rely on. I don't think Tom would rely on his own prediction. But as a learned man, he's looking at the situation and he's saying, and he's not alone, this won't last. You can't screw over this many people and take away their interest income for close to a decade and expect there not to be bubbling under the surface contempt and utter hate for the powers that be. Some out there might disagree with some of my points. They might say, Michael, you're too strident, you're too harsh. It's not like that. I have a very good handle on international relations. I have a very good handle on Europe. I see how Asia works. I sure as hell know how America works. And all around this world, everyone simply wants to be treated fairly, and the guy that works the hardest gets the most. The man or woman who strives the most, who puts in the most time, that's the person that should be rewarded. It should not be the EU bureaucrats. Has anyone seen the video of this clown who's the head of the EU, drunk as shit, backslapping people? This is what you've got running these types of organizations. And it's the same stuff in the United States Congress. But the head of the EU, drunk off his ass in the middle of the day. You know why? Because the people that run these organizations are trust fund party boys and girls that have never had to work a day in their life, have never done a damn thing, inherited it all, and they just love to lord over you and me. That's what gets them off. That's their existence. I love that the British people said, F you, we're going this direction, and we don't care how it hurts us in the short term. Germany has a $90 billion trade surplus with the UK. Are German companies going to stop trading with the UK? Not exactly, unless they want to shoot themselves in the foot. Not happening. Separate the trade, separate the politics. But you see, one side always wants the politics and the trade attached at the hip, because then they have control to pick winners and losers. Those of us that still believe in liberty, we want trade separated from politics as most as we can. Let the man that is pushing the hardest win. That's my optimal world. You can see it's got a slight Atlas Shrugged tinge to it. But guess what? My libertarian beliefs sure as hell aren't going to help me or you to make any money. And that gets back to the point that I've been making in this podcast. These big events that happen, and they're not going to stop happening, there is only one strategy that makes money. The day of Brexit, Larry Hite, 4% up. David Harding, 3% up. Paul Mulvaney, 17% up on Friday, on one day. I love also looking at Mark Spitznagel's approach. Mark, formerly with Nassim Taleb, very similar strategy to trend following. He's going to get many small losses, but then he's going to hit some big ones. And when he hits the big ones, he's going to make a fortune, because this all gets back to the Babe Ruth style of thinking. Nobody can predict the future. Anyone tells you that they can predict the exact future is full of shit. But the idea is you have to place bets and put yourself in a position to be either long or short with the prevailing trend when the surprise hits. You see, Larry Hite, David Harding, Paul Mulvaney, three great trend-following traders, they were not so wise or so smart to know exactly what was going to happen the day of Brexit. No. But they were in established trends that went further once Brexit hit. I've said it many times, trend following is often, very often, on the right side of surprise. But you don't get on the right side of surprise unless you bet. And when you bet, you're not going to always win. But you don't have to always win. If you win 30% of the time or 40% of the time, and your winners are that much bigger than your losers, what you're looking for is a positive mathematical expectation, meaning what will you win on average when you bet? And as long as it is positive, you have a chance. And look, some people really think this is the pivotal moment where markets will go to severe trading opportunities. I caught this quote from Alan Greenspan, and look, Alan Greenspan sure as hell is responsible for some of the bubbles that we've seen in the last 25, 30 years. Consider this quote. "This is the worst period I recall since I've been in public service. There's nothing like it, including the crisis. Remember October 19th, 1987, when the Dow went down by a record amount of 23%. That I thought was the bottom of all potential problems. This has a corrosive effect that will not go away. I love to find something positive to say," end quote. Perhaps he's right, perhaps he's wrong. If he's right, and you have good strategy, you're going to make a fortune. If Brexit is the first domino to fall, there's no other strategy you can use, no other strategy you can apply to make significant money and protect your downside than trend following. Do you ever think you're going to see interest income again? That has been permanently taken away, never to be seen again. This has all been a stealth tax to eliminate your principal. Take America, for example. 50% of Americans don't have $1 in the bank. They don't care about these issues. They're simply waiting for the government to take care of them. So whether Greenspan is right or Greenspan is wrong, if you have a sound strategy, And I'm going to argue really strong here, unless you can find something for me comparable. I'm going to argue really strongly that trend following is the only strategy. They can go either direction. Greenspan right, Greenspan wrong. Trend following is going to be there making money. Don't get caught up too much in the crisis of the day-to-day. There's going to be another crisis and another and another. There's going to be another big event. They're not going to stop. I don't know the name of them today, but they will have a cool name that we will all remember. And you have to ask yourself, is it possible, in your own mind, can you model the possibility that the S&P could drop 75% from here and stay down for 10 years? The Japanese stock market is still 50% down from its 1989 high. Can you imagine that happening with other major Western stock markets? If you can't imagine that happening, most likely when the black swan hits, when the next punch to the gut happens, you're going to get caught on the wrong side of surprise. Half the battle is just to look forward, to look at all this irrationality across humankind. The irrationality that won Daniel Kahneman the Nobel Prize, is that going to change? Is that going to go away? Of course it's not going to go away. Look, the object here is not to try to have some perfect fundamental understanding of all geopolitical events across this world. It's not going to happen. We're human, we're all batshit crazy, and stuff is going to move in markets. Markets take a buyer and a seller. And when they don't agree on prices, moves happen, trends unfold. The question for you, the big question that I want to leave you with, what side are you going to be on? The side of the winners or the side of the losers? It's your choice. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.